And welcome to our webinar today. The focus obviously being on the Google STEM Learning Bundle. I appreciate you taking the time. We're going to try to make this as interactive and as informative as possible. And again, we appreciate your time knowing how busy everyone is. So today we're going to be joined by a couple of other folks who I'll let introduce themselves as their term comes up. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. My name is Glenn Collins and I'm an executive with CDI. And one of my responsibilities is to look at ways to help educators get more out of their technology and how CDI can help them bring value to the learning process and change the way we engage students. And whether you know this or not, I'm not sure, but Google has done a whole bunch of work in the education space, not just with educators, but with industry to find out what are the kind of learning skills that we need to bring to kids for 21st century learning, 21st century jobs, etc. And as I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, you know, we're really educating kids for today for jobs that don't exist yet. And so what are the kind of skills we need to give them so that they're prepared as those jobs come up and etc. So Google has worked really hard with a number of vendors, a couple that you're going to hear about today, to put together programs for specific learning outcomes. And I think what we'll talk a little bit about today is the learning outcomes that come from this, what makes up the STEM bundle, and what you can expect in terms of what's going to happen in the classroom with this. So joining me today is Bradley from littleBits, who will talk a lot about the robotics kits, the interactivity of that program, how that works in the classroom. And then Kim, who is going to join us, who's with our partner in this, which is Synix, who works very closely with Google. Kim's responsibility, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about her background. But her responsibility is really to make the STEM program work for people like yourselves. So we're really excited about this. There's a lot of excitement in the industry, a lot of excitement about robotics in the classroom. And you know, who would have thought that you know, robotics has now become the computer club of years gone by. So when I went to school in the 1970s, sadly, they had computer clubs where kids built computers, etc. Well, today we've seen that move where a computer becomes a tool to do a million other things. And really, the most exciting thing we're starting to see in the schools is the robotics and the utilization of that robotics to engage kids in a different way. So our workshop today, or our session today, is really going to revolve around, I'm going to talk a little bit about the STEM program from a very high level, just kind of what the learning outcomes, why it's available. Then we're going to turn it over to Bradley, who's going to talk about the robotics piece of the bundle. And then Kim's going to talk about the 3D printer and all of the pieces that kind of come together to make the program the success that it is and will continue to be. So a couple things I want to bring up just in the beginning. One is that this is being recorded, so anybody who has attended will get a link to a recording within 24 hours. So you'll be able to share it with others in your organization if you see fit. We will be able to provide, and we'll send out pricing to everybody who was also on the session today, so you will be able to get pricing. And throughout the session, we really encourage you to ask a lot of questions. So you do have the feature, the Q&A feature, that you can text us questions throughout the process. So I encourage you to do that. We'll do our very best to answer all the questions today online. But if you come up with a question we can't answer, we'll do our best to get back to you within 24 hours by email. So just a little bit about STEM and what STEM is, and certainly the concepts in science, technology, engineering, and math have reached a level of sophistication, or the requirements in those areas have reached a level of sophistication that certainly didn't exist a number of years ago. And as we move forward, and as technology and robotics in particular make a big impact on every aspect of our life, the ability to function in that world is going to be more and more important. So this STEM learning bundle is really designed to help the students become problem solvers, you know, really looking at things that they'll be able to utilize these skills for as they move forward, both in education and employment, in that upcoming world of robotics that we're going to be in. So the idea really is to create a learning environment where they can pick up these skills. What I didn't realize when I first looked at this, because I just thought it was really cool to be able to do robotics, were all of the other learning outcomes that happen when you put these in a classroom. So what we're starting to experience, what we're starting to see is, some of the things like the basic coding skills, the linear thinking, because I got to be able to do this in a very particular order. When I run into a problem, not only do I have to figure out how to do it myself, but I have to collaborate with a team of people. Usually I'm working on a team where I'm building these. So it creates teamwork, collaboration. It allows me to, as I said, follow a process through, so following a set of instructions, which also lends itself to English skills or communication skills. What we do see is a lot of confidence, a lot of excitement, and kids being able to organize themselves in a group and work together. So there's a lot of learning outcomes that come from this that are outside of the basic robotics and STEM process as a result of this kind of interactive learning. And we're starting to see the impact that putting these in the classroom has in terms of engaging students, having fun, getting engaged, learning without really know they're learning. So I'm not going to bore you. I'm very excited about this. And I think everywhere we've deployed programs or seen these programs deployed, there's a lot of excitement in the classroom. But the real people that know what this is all about are both Bradley and Kim. So at this point, I am going to unmute Bradley. And Bradley, I'm going to make you the host.
Great.
And they should be able to hear you now. And you should get a thing saying share your screen. Got that yet?
Yep, I'm getting there.
All right.
Hopefully. All right. Hopefully you can see a screen that says littleBits. Can you see that, Glenn?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yes, we can. So
All right, great.
everybody can see that now. And again, I encourage people, there is a question and answer. So when Bradley dazzles you, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, please. And Glenn, if you could help flag some of those questions, feel free to interrupt me as I go through the
No problem.
Great, thank you. All right, appreciate CDI having littleBits on the call today. My name is Brad Shanker. I'm the director of our channel sales for education. So we work with partners like CDI to bring some of littleBits' great solutions to educators around the country and around the world. In the next 20 minutes or so, we'll just do a brief overview of who littleBits is, what is littleBits, what is our mission, a very brief overview of our full education line, and then specifically about our new code kit, which combines our invention platform with block coding, which is part of the Google for Chrome STEM tools bundle. So first, the company is just over 6 years old. It was founded by Ayat Badir, who is a creative artist and engineer by background, and she created the company to democratize hardware by letting anybody build circuits and inventions with no soldering or any other knowledge of engineering needed. And so littleBits has turned into what you see here, over 60 individual bits that I'll talk to briefly on how it comes together, that they are building blocks that can snap together with magnets to build anything a student or user can imagine. So littleBits goes well beyond robotics into real-world problem solving. An overview of littleBits and how they work. They are color-coded. There's 4 different colors. We always have blue as power. The pink inputs are things that make things happen, turn on and turn off. Orange are our wire and logic products. And then our outputs tend to be motion, lights, or sound. And when you put these into a variety of combinations, the inventions you can create are almost endless. If you've been to a local or national education show, hopefully you've had a chance to see the bits, but they're pretty cool. And but what's more important around the hardware is the education platform and the foundation that's behind it that's making littleBits a success in schools and after school programs and maker spaces around the world. And that really revolves around the invention-based learning concept, 21st century learning. So in this view here, we look at the path the student takes from learning about the bits all the way up to independent learning. So an example may be, there may be a lesson to learn about motors and how motors work. The students will then go into a guided instruction from the teacher, the educator, of, let's say, building a BitBot that you see there. After they understand the basic concepts, we will give them a challenge, again, scaffolding on the knowledge that they've already built. In one instance, we could say hack your habits, which is really means go solve something and make it easier, whether it's maybe creating an automatic stir for your hot chocolate, or this contraption here was actually an invention that was posted on our website at the beginning of the year under Hack Your Habits, and that is actually an automatic window shade puller. That it's connected to the internet and moves at a specific time and is connected to a window shade, and at 7 a.m. The child's room will light up when the shade is pulled up. And from there, you get into independent learning, where students are using littleBits as part of their science fair project. It is not the only thing, but it helps enable, enhance, and differentiate the learning that the students can go through. It's a similar view from the educator's standpoint, and one of the things that we're so happy to see is a lot of educators and early adopters who really have taken littleBits and helped guide us in how we need to properly build and scaffold our lessons to be successful. So from an educator's perspective, we want to go through a similar process, making sure the educators are learning about littleBits and how they work, which we start to do today, give you a confidence level to run lessons, to move to the point where you can start creating your own lessons or using our club and community profiles where you can share lessons with other educators, and then become a leader of littleBits and EdTech, where you can mentor other teachers of how to use littleBits and EdTech, not just in the STEM subjects, but across curriculum as well. We support this cycle through something we call the littleBits invention cycle, which is a cognitive skill learning process, which is almost identical to the scientific principles, the engineering process you would go through as a full-time engineer, and really goes to some of the skills that Glenn talked about hypothesizing, reflecting, focusing on the 4 C's. We then support that invention cycle and the learning process through a whole host of documents that we provide free that can come directly from CDI, or you can download from our website. Here's some examples here. We have a 120-page teacher's guide that includes lessons that we connect to national standards and provides how to manage the classroom and provide some troubleshooting tips. From the student side, we provide invention logs that takes them through that invention cycle of creating, playing, remixing, and reinventing their ideas. And also can be used as an assessment tool by the teacher and educators to make sure that the students are learning the concepts that are part of your overall lessons and your curriculum. We help make that connection as well through the invention guides and the process that we go through. One of the most important things that we try to do at littleBits is to make sure we are connecting what we do to the real world. We feel that when students have the ability to invent the world that they live in, they will be much more engaged in the learning process. So here we have the example of learning about a light sensor, creating a sample circuit with that light sensor, where we'll talk about the specifics of how that circuit works. And then you'll see at the bottom, we will relate it to real-world analogies. And that really lights a fire under the students, because you can see the excitement they get when they are learning that they are creating the same type of circuit that their night light might use, or how their touch screen on their phones work. And then that really just starts the creative ideas for themselves. And this all, of course, supports the 4 C's: critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration. And you really see it happen and you can go on blog posts and social media and see the reaction from students and from teachers and what's going on directly in classrooms today. So I briefly want to talk about our overall product set so you understand the breadth of content and product we have, and then dive in for the remaining 10 minutes I have into the code kit so you can understand how that works and it integrates into a full solution. So we focus to make sure that our products grow as the students grow. Our target grade levels are 3rd through 8th grade, but we are seeing littleBits being used through K through 20. And what we have built is low floor and high ceilings, making it very easy for teachers and students to start using littleBits, and scaffold the type of bits, the type of lessons up to the point where you are seeing littleBits being used in advanced high school robotics classes and into prototyping labs at universities. We also then focus on wide walls as we want to be able to go beyond just the STEM subjects. And we have many case studies about how littleBits are being used in humanities, social studies. I am directly working with my children's middle school choir teacher right now who has integrated littleBits into his 6th grade curriculum, as well as started a littleBits after school program that saw over 50 students sign up for something for a club that needed to max out at 20. So there's a lot of excitement happening there, and that's just a personal example that I have. So we have products for maker spaces, innovation labs. If you have your libraries where you're building maker spaces or media centers that you want to expand, we have products that have a whole bunch of bits that can support that design and innovation process. We then have one of our core education products, the STEAM Student Set, which came out last year and provides all the curriculum and lessons and student workbooks that I had discussed a few minutes before. We sell them in a variety of packaging styles to make it easy for your schools and for you to budget as you look at what ed tech products you want to bring into your classroom and into your maker spaces. And then our newest product offering for education is our code kit, which we launched in June, and you'll see a lot of discussion around that this fall as we go into our code and coding becomes a bigger piece of what we're doing in schools. Similar setup. We also provide free storage, and we can come up with customized solutions for your school as well. And then we can take these products and add additional products if you wanted to focus on other areas such as music and other types of inventions, as well as you can consider them class packs. It's this code kit that Google wanted to focus on for their STEM tool bundle, and that's the one I'm going to go deep dive so you can see how that setup is created. So first, the bundle really takes our code kit and one of our class packs, our 18-student class pack, and combines it with the education bundle for the Dremel printer. And I believe Kim will have a little bit more information on that later in our discussion today. So I want to jump into the code kit, which falls into this mission that littleBits has to inspire kids to be more curious, confident, and inventive. And I will add to that the ability and willingness to fail and pick themselves up and understand what happened in that process and go at it again and want to improve upon the inventions and the coding that they're building. And we found a very unique way to do this with our code kit that combines our real-life inventions that we do with littleBits, combined with block coding that's based on Google Blockly, to create games and other inventions that can be used in the real world. So this is taking the block coding that's becoming a crucial part of curriculum and lessons and taking it out of the 2D world of inventing, creating code for the 2D screen or creating code to make a robot move, to inventing inventions that they have coded, whether it be games or other solutions. I've got some pretty fun examples to share with you as well. So kids are going to learn engineering design, computer science, and computational thinking, again, all related to national standards. They're going to learn it through games initially, and through our community and the use of the educators, there will be dozens and hundreds and thousands of new inventions that will be created through our coding and invention platform. We've started with 4 core games, and I'll show you some screenshots of what schools have done thus far this year. But they're all games that students, teachers will be familiar with, and we've got a pretty creative process of how we go about creating these games. Through our Code Kit app, which is available for download through our website. It works on Chrome as well as Windows and Mac machines. And we start with an initial Hello World code just to understand the basics of how block coding works and how then you connect our app to the littleBits inventions. We then have a coding tutorial that can be either guided by the educator or it could be self-paced that takes students through step-by-step activities to learn about loops, inputs, variables, logics, functions. And within each of those activities, you are following directions. There's a video with each activity. There are pictures to help and guide students along. And in this process, it frees the time for the teacher to float around the room and help students, and through the collaborative process and through how we set it up where each kit is recommended for 1 to 3 students, where students can group up and help each other, where someone's writing the code, someone's building the project, someone is writing in the invention log. Through the app as well, we have numerous Code Kit educator resources. This screenshot here is just a simple, the top of the page, which is getting to know your kit. An introduction from Aya, our founder. The Meet Your Kit video is from one of our lead educators. We talk about the invention cycle and take you through a fun example of a first lesson. All of your educator resources and materials are available through the app. That's something that we made a leap from our STEAM student set, where it's all PDFs and physical documents, to where we have these digital documents here that you can download that are available in Google Docs to make it much easier for you to integrate directly into your current lesson plans. We then have the educator sites with specific handouts, again, additional support tools, feedback charts, almost anything that you may need to support your efforts is available through the app. And when you're finding something that you can't find, we have easy access to our customer service where they can help guide you and find additional information. Everything you need to start is within the Code Kit, quick start guides, all the materials, a bit index, which teaches you all about the individual bits. And I just want to end here with a few examples of what's going on in schools today. Here you have students that at the end of the school year this past spring, they used our guitar code, and not only did they code and change the LED screen, but you see they also got the chance to be creative and invent their own types of guitars. In this screenshot, our hot potato game, which we invented with monsters, students have gone and created their own monsters to play the traditional hot potato game. And even in one school, they changed the LED screen and the creative around it and turned it into a Star Wars Jedi duel of good versus evil. And the final screenshot here I wanted to show you is the first example we saw of going beyond gaming. This screenshot here is a random art organizer where the coding and the bits, you move the slide dimmer or you press one of the buttons and it generates a random color on each of the squares of the LED screen. And then you can see below the square on the paper, the student then is drawing the random design that was generated by their coding machine. And so you had a whole art class that was designing, coding, and building these random pieces of art. And that's just a great, great example of how technology was infused into traditional art curriculum. Finally, I just want to leave this screen here for you to read. This is just some of what our educators have said in the first few months about our Code Kit. So better than me speaking to you over a computer, here's some examples of what's being discussed. If you have other questions, I'm happy to either answer them now or the end of the session today, and as well as funnel any questions through CDI, and we're happy to jump on a call with you or work with your CDI rep to get your questions answered.
Yeah, Brad, the only question that I saw that I'm not sure we answered was from Cheryl. She asked, does on your computer exclude iPad?
At present, our app does not integrate with iOS.
So when you said Mac, it's because it's Chrome and you can't use the mobile Chrome because of the extension issues? Or
I don't know the technical reasons. When we built our app and had it work for Mac, Windows, and Chrome, I don't know the reasons. It could have been just timing and resources to develop it for iOS and iPad, but that is something that we are actively looking at, and this type of feedback is what I take back to our product team of what our educators are asking for so they can put it into their product roadmaps for next year.
Okay, and I also had a number of people asking about, they probably missed the beginning, that we talked about all of these are available, all of the bundle webinars we've done are available via recording. So at the end of this, when we send out the link for this recording, I will also send a link out to our website where all of the webinars we've done, in particular the ones we've done about the bundles, are available. So Bradley, hang in there. If there's more questions, I will let you know. Cheryl, poor Cheryl is one-to-one iPad. So Cheryl, maybe we'll try to figure out a way around that. I don't know. Every student doesn't need a device, so we'll think about it. The other question I had, Brad, was if I was one of the listeners on this today and I wanted to start out and try this, the best value is to buy the small bundle, or is there a way I can stick my toe in the water for less money?
Sure. So our code kit, not speaking of the bundle with Dremel, but our own individual code kit can be sold in individual packs and then class packs. We do have some demo programs that we can run with, that we have with CDI, where your customers can get their hands on products, and that's something, if interest comes to you after the webinar today, Glenn, we can we'll get you details of the programs, and then you can work with your educators on the best solutions for those. But
that's outstanding, great, and we'd love to do that for sure. I did have one other question that said, can you show how littleBits works, like a video or so?
Yeah, what I can do is, in the time, I didn't put any of our videos in this webinar just because we needed to share time. But Glenn, I will send you some links to an introduction to our STEAM student set, as well as our code kit that you can send on. And I encourage your listeners to look at the code kit, and when you see the young lady with the curly hair and the purple shirt, that's my daughter. I told her I get as many views for her as I can in a year, so that's it. But I'll send those, and you can put that as part of your follow-up after the discussion today.
Perfect. So when we send the email out tomorrow with the link for the recording, we'll include that information as well. So thanks, Bradley. I'm going to steal the screen back from you here.
All right, perfect. Well, the follow-up to what Brad has talked about with all the littleBits different kits available and everything, we are very excited that Google chose these two particular products to put together in a student STEM bundle for Chrome. And one of the main reasons that Google reached out to us to do this was because they wanted to show how versatile Chromebooks can be and all the other uses that they have, just besides standardized testing and things that people normally think of Chromebooks for, but also to be able to use them in STEM environments as well. So by bundling your code kit from littleBits with the Dremel 3D printer, you have a very good start to a STEM lab or an after-school coding program or anything else that you might want to do. So the student STEM bundle is the two pieces that you see here. It is the 18-pack of the littleBits code kit, as well as the Dremel 3D printer education bundle. And if you'll flip to that next slide, it tells a little bit about the printer itself and what's included in our education bundle. So I did want to talk about that just a little bit. The bundle includes the printer. It also includes a 4-hour professional development online course for teachers so that teachers can step-by-step go through how to use the printer. And it is a self-paced online course for them that comes on a thumb drive with the printer, or either you get a code with the printer. Now, the great thing too is it comes with curriculum. So just like your code kit comes with curriculum from littleBits with 4 different modules and over 100 activities, the printer also comes with a lot of different curriculum packages that include all the next gen science standards and your Common Core standards, so that teachers can then have a complete STEM program for their students to kind of walk through for 3D printing as well. Some people ask, you know, is this the same Dremel that makes the power tools? And if you flip over to the next slide, you'll see that yes, it is definitely the Bosch label that has made this printer. They are the Dremel people that made all of your rotary tools and your sanders and everything else that you see in a lot of the tool stores. And that's because they have been, I guess you would call makers way before makers became a name. So that is a little bit of history behind how the Dremel printer was created and who has created it. So you've got very good engineering that goes into the package and into the printer itself being developed. The next slide tells you a little bit about just worldwide. They've been doing this since 1932. They are very much some of the leaders in the global maker movement. And they definitely have the expertise in their development of their innovative products and tools and everything else, from rotary tools to oscillating tools, and now into 3D printing. The good news is if you have a question and you need to call their customer service line, you will get a live person. To me, when I was a teacher and I was in a classroom, that was very important to me to be able to get to a live person if I had technical difficulties with some of the technology that I was trying to use. So that is a very good selling point, in my opinion, for the Dremel 3D printer as well. I think the next slide is going to talk to us a little bit about, you know, why do we focus on 3D in education? You know, a lot of schools get a 3D printer and then don't really know, you know, how do we use it? How is this going to help us meet the teaching standards that we are required to teach? How is this going to prepare children for the future? And I think that several of the things that you can think about are the new maker movement that's going on. Used to, when I was in school, we had shop classes and we had home ec classes and we had all kinds of classes where we actually did go in and make and do and you know, try to build and fail, as Brad was saying earlier with the coding, and may have to pick up the pieces and try again. And a lot of times that's not done as much in the classroom anymore, but it is becoming back into, you know, vogue, I guess you would say. So they definitely are leaders in that area, and I think that the 3D education is very important for when you look at engineering and CAD movements and things like that, where students are having to create and make prototypes and really work hard to try to put together an invention that they have. So many schools now are doing project-based learning and inventive-based learning, and coding and 3D printing are two very important parts of those types of curriculum. The next slide just talks about different ways that working, you know, with 3D can really help a student. It helps with critical thinking, problem solving. If they're working on a project, some of the things that Brad was showing you with the littleBits require teamwork, video games that they're having to compete against each other. So all of that collaboration goes into play as well. In real world applications, this is where students can try to build some sort of invention to solve a world problem. it's engaging to students. They feel like this is actually a class that they will use later in life, and they feel like they are much more engaged in what they're actually learning. So those are all different skill sets that this bundle can help you teach in your classroom. The curriculum that's in there, in the, I think we got, there we go. Talking a little bit about makerspaces, it does kind of show the drastic upturn in makerspaces. This is just an interesting fact that I found, that the term makerspace, you can see how many times it's been Googled, and it's drastically increased since 2012. And this is a continuing upward trend. A lot of school districts are now being tasked with putting a makerspace in their media centers, or having a makerspace for an after-school program. I have public libraries that contact us all the time because they are wanting to have makerspace programs for their students in their summer programs and everything. So this is a growing trend, and this bundle certainly helps fill the niche for some of the technology that's used in these makerspaces. The use of any technology in a classroom, you know, is pressure for a teacher that's already having to meet her standards, do lesson plans, deal with IEPs, deal with all the different things that they have to deal with different learning capabilities of the students that they're having to teach. And I think that, you know, you need a simplified printer to do this. And Dremel has made this a very simplified printer because of the cloud-based software that it uses. It can be used with Windows devices. It can be used with Chrome and iOS as well. So it has a very good cloud slicing software that is simple to use. And believe me, if I can run it, then anybody could run this printer in a classroom. So the frustrations kind of go away when you have the Dremel. The education bundle does include, like I had mentioned, the printing software, the curriculum. It does include extra supplies like build plates, build tapes, tools that you use to get the print job off of the build plate, and a lot of different things like that. It includes 4 different colors of filament with the printer. So that's nice, because if a teacher has written a grant to try to get this printer or the STEM bundle with the littleBits code kit, then basically she's not going to have to replenish those supplies later in the year. It should last her a full year as far as all the printer supplies go. The different things that Dremel offers, they do offer the world-class customer support, which I talked about earlier. They do have the online webinar training. They have all the lesson plans, very easy to use software. I've told you a little bit about the supplies that come along with it, and it does have a 1-year warranty as well. And it is a UL certified device for the classroom. So all of your bases are covered with this printer. This just kind of tells a little bit more about the software and all the different filaments that are out there for use. I know that if there's some lesson plans that are available, there's one software program called My STEM Kit that has pre-built software so that you can actually go in, and if you wanted to print out the parts of the animal cell, you could do that and actually make manipulatives for your classroom. And so having different colors of filaments and make it very easily changeable is an important feature that the Dremel has. And you can really work with a lot of different software programs. It works well with Thingiverse, it works well with Tinkercad, all of those programs that you, if you've worked with 3D printing before, know that are out there. All of them have been tested on the Dremel and work beautifully with it. This slide just tells a little bit about the actual curriculum that does come with the printer itself. And what's nice about this is if you're buying the STEM Tools bundle, you've got the great curriculum that littleBits provides with all of their products, and then you have all of this software that comes along with the Dremel 3D printer. And to incorporate some of that together makes a very nice STEM curriculum for elementary, middle, and high school. It can go all the way up 1st through 12th grade. I would say the sweet spots for all of this is probably 3rd through 8th grade, but definitely it can be used in any grade level. And this is just an example of some of the different software packages and different curriculum that is out there for the teachers to use with the Dremel. I've pretty much covered about the 4-hour professional development class, but this kind of tells you the different things that are included, how to use it in the classroom, you know, the introduction to the software, how to use the hardware and the printing software, how to download it from one program to another. All of those things are covered in the 4-hour professional development class. There is one thing that a lot of teachers have asked us for, and especially the media specialists. They would like to have a mobile STEM solution for a classroom so that it could be checked out and taken down to different classrooms. And Bradford listened and has created a cart specifically for the Dremel printer, but it also has storage in it. You can see it has 2 shelves and then a big cabinet on the bottom to where you can put other STEM products. So you could basically load up all of your littleBits kits, your coding kits, everything into the cabinet. Also have the Dremel printer and all the supplies there, and you could roll this from room to room and make it a mobile STEM cart. You know, add some other features to it if you want to. There's all kinds of great products out there, but if you have the STEM bundle, then you've definitely started a very good STEM program for your classroom, and this is just a mobile way to get it from room to room.
Good. I think that's the last slide, yes. Kim, I did have a question earlier that I think you guys can help with, and that's the grant process.
So there are grants available. In fact, I'll send you a list of them that I know Synex has of, you know, possible technology grants that are out there for teachers or school districts to apply for. And some are based on needs, some are based on, you know, the grant writer and how good they are at explaining what they want to try to accomplish in the classroom. But I can certainly get a list of that to you. And then a lot of people also do kind of a, you know, a GoFundMe page or something like that to kind of fund some of their things. And Brad might be able to share some other ideas of ways that he's seen some things being funded too.
Brad?
Yep.
Anything to add?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, we actually are pulling together a white paper on grants, and hopefully that'll be done here the next month or so, and we'll be able to share that around.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm just going to close off by talking a little bit about what's next and where anybody interested can go from here and what we need to do. So we were going to send out pricing with our follow-up from today's session, and you should get that information in the next 24 hours. And in that, we will include the pricing of the 3 different bundles. If you are interested in any of the individual stuff, we're happy to provide you pricing on that as well. And we'll have a description of what's included in those bundles as well. We'll also, if I get it, if not, we'll send it further, but if I get it in time, any of that grant information, Kim, I'll include with what we send out, and maybe a little recap of the professional development of the Dremel as well. So hopefully you'll see all of that in the next 24 hours. You know, as I said, part of that will be the recording of this session. You'll get a link to that. We're more than happy to do, if you're interested, more one-on-one session. I'm sure Brad would be happy to participate if you're looking to get some of your peers together and you want us to kind of get more granular than we have today. If you need to reach out to me because you're not sure who your CDI rep is, my email address is on the screen. It's gcollins@edugear.com. we're more than happy to provide you quotes for any of the different configurations. Certainly, we're happy to take orders for any of the bundles as they come in. And much like the other bundles, you can purchase these components individually as well. So all of those things are available to you. I encourage you to reach out to your CDI rep. I think we're getting a few more questions. Let me see here. Can you help with grant writing, or is there a fee for this? We can help in terms of providing some content. Kim, is that a service you guys provide?
As far as the content goes, we do have links to some different, are you talking about professional development for content, or are you just
they were talking. The question was, can you help with grant writing?
We do not have grant writers on our staff, but
okay.
We can actually link a school district with a grant writer. We do have grant writers that we know are certified grant writers and everything, so I will send you that information as well, so
okay.
that you can provide that for them.
Perfect. All of the remaining outstanding questions were around grants, so I think we'll try to include as much information as we can in terms of that. Again, you have my email address, so if there's further inquiry, please feel free to send, and we'll try to help in any way we can. So on behalf of littleBits and our partners at Synnex, thank you very much for your time. We truly appreciate you joining us today. We know how busy everybody is. I hope you found it both informative and somewhat interactive. So again, thank you for your time. We will reach out to you in the next 24 hours. Any questions, please feel free to forward them. Thanks for your participation, Kim, and thanks very much, Bradley.